Clickety clackety.
Yep, we're good. Holy moly, we're back.
We're back.
Sorry I was late. A day and 20 minutes.
A year later. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, yeah. Pretty good.
How's your 2025?
It's good. I got that New Year energy.
Yeah.
Still a weekend.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's that moustache that's powering you forward and upwards.
New year, new stash, apparently. Dirty, messy stash. Well.
How are you? What's happening?
Good. I was a little bit late because I just had a great meeting with a couple friends, and I just felt very rejuvenated from creatively from talking with them, which is, I don't feel like I always get that feeling, or almost never I get that feeling. I like seeing friends, but it's just you had the coolest shop, and just really haven't been to his new place. It's just so cool. So I feel
awesome,
invigorated by that right now.
What do you do with that feeling? Do you try and capture it?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely.
Dear diary.
Dear diary. I probably should write down some of my thoughts and I have got a bunch of product ideas. I've got a bunch of just general thoughts, shop organization thoughts. It's just always exciting to me.
Cool.
How about you? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm a week back on the tools. First 4 days of work just whizzed past. After sort of Monday morning feeling a bit like, oh, what do I do here again? How does this all work? Staggering around.
Who am I?
Who am I? But no, I got back into it pretty quick, and there was cash was super slow over a 2-week break. Well, sales were slow.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't, the accounts were pretty empty.
It's all fun feeling.
Came back to a pay run, of course,
Yes, same. Right.
Got to pay the people, permanent staff, take a paycheck regardless.
Those greedy employees just always want their paycheck.
So yeah, things are a little bit tight, but sort of in a positive headspace, falling back into a rhythm pretty quickly. And there's some, not always the case, I feel, in January, but people have been online. There's been plenty of traffic on the website, and there was a good bunch of inquiries just sitting there ready to jump into of people who are keen and fresh. And so, yeah, had a decent week of conversions in the end. Kind of spent my Friday yesterday at home, which is supposed to be my day off, but just staying on top of the messages a little bit and helping a few jobs just get across the line.
Yep.
Updating a drawing there or a quote there, and ended up having a great day of conversions yesterday. So feeling positive. It's good. Same. But back into it. Yeah.
Right. Nice. Yeah. Christmas in the Midwest with my family. That was really nice. Yeah. The weather was remarkably not cold and terrible, which it usually is 0, 10 Fahrenheit. So really quite cold. And it wasn't bad. And it was just good to see. It was nice to see my son got to have Christmas kind of for the first time with cousins. So it was fun to see them interact. And he's used to this kind of quiet home, single child. And there's 3 rambunctious kids. And he was just kind of what the heck is going on here? That's kind of I worked a little bit.
Nice. When did you go back to work? Because you take a shorter break than us.
We did do a partial lean day, and it's kind of extended into the new year, but we did the kind of inventory count. It took us almost 2 days, but also had a rush of trying to ship out all our calendars, and I'll get to that later, but I had that fiasco was fixed by 8 hours with Claude, roughly. But other than that, good start to the year. Had a handful of jobs. We haven't had much work since October, really. Job shop work. And it's been fine with products, but bunch of them converted right away in January. So we're like, kind of like most of January is, aside from doing normal stuff, is kind of booked already for how much we usually take on. So it's been nice and confusing.
Nice is confusing, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Good.
I was going to say, right at the top, I think you have some like wonderful couple videos you've posted on Instagram. I'll put links to, of the history of your shelves and how you're evolving them, and talking about Laura and how she designed them and is coming up to kind of reinvigorate them again, one of your best-selling products. And then those are really enjoyable to watch, especially for even somebody that kind of knows your story.
Thanks.
Very well edited, doing great, lots of comments. But then I think the one that I want to call more attention to is kind of like partner appreciation post, because it's like, I wish I had the words to say it as you did. I showed it to Aaron. It made me like teary. And I think it's just like, nobody really does that like you did. So it's just such a nice sentiment to like call to appreciation your wife and how she takes care of the kids, and you get to go to work, and that is incredibly unspoken, and something that I have to keep reiterating how thankful I am for that, right? That I get to do that, and I don't say it publicly, I guess, as I should.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it was funny. It was genuinely a pretty spur of the moment video. Like, I did just, as I said in the video, I did just wake up that morning.
You said, God, that was a crazy night
thought.
Or something like that.
I think I was more expletive than that. Yeah, and went to work and recorded that. And yeah, it's funny. Like, it's a post that's got a lot of attention. It's resonated with a lot of people, which is, I guess, not surprising given the content. But it's interesting, the sort of follow-up thoughts I've had about it. Of like, I didn't want it. I didn't intend it at all to be a comment on that being a stay-at-home parent, mother or father or otherwise, is second best in any way.
I don't think you did.
That was not my intention.
If I said that, I didn't mean that. I just meant to say, like,
no.
It's completely it might be commented upon as a complaint usually, I think, mostly, which is fair. Like, it's tough and it's rewarding in that you have a child that's alive, I suppose, but like, it's just tough and nobody sees it, and you can't, most people aren't like celebrating their wins with their toddler on Instagram, you know, as we do with like, oh, I organized the shelf in my shop.
Yeah,
I'm sure they are. Maybe I just don't see it. It's not in my feed. It's probably on Erin's feed about their toddler wins. Anyway.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed making that longer form content this week. Yeah, I have good intentions to keep doing it. As you commented, can I expect one of these daily? And I was like, yeah,
I already paid on the OnlyFans. I mean, where's my content?
Damn it! Is that you? Is that your username? I've always wondered. Yeah, no, I'll continue to make some of these longer format videos, I think, because I don't know, it's partly that first week back energy of like realizing like, I do actually have time in my week to make content and get done all the other things I need to get done. And so, yeah, like 3 mornings this week, I was shooting and editing from like 6:30 and often not finishing and publishing until pretty late in the morning. So losing half a day to a shoot and an edit.
It's
which feels crazy, but I actually think it's worth it.
Oh man, based on the amount of like, I don't know if maybe you can pull it off every time, but like the engagement you're getting from it, not that engagement's paying for anything, but I can imagine it will translate long term.
I think so. Yeah. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
But it's been good. What happened with your pre-order?
Pre-order
Claude
calendars.
What happened? Calendars.
I hope I don't rehash too much of this from last show, but I used a pre-order plugin for Shopify. Do you remember this at all?
No, I don't remember this.
Trying to gauge the interest of having to increase the cost more than like 5%. Like, I don't remember what it was total.
Yeah.
It was more than I would like to, but it just like had to happen when we changed printers for the calendars for NAC. I did like a crowdfunding basically model where it was like, if we get, it's just a tipping point is all it was. It's like if I want to gauge that there's enough people that are interested. And so it was like it wasn't even very many, like 70 of one size of calendar and 30 of another. That was like enough that made sense where like I knew I wasn't losing money, like it would be profitable. And so we got both of those within a week. Couldn't find a printer, found one, decided on it, did it. The plugin I used, I guess maybe it was new. I don't know. I thought the plugin would pre-authorize charges. So like it was through Shopify. Payments happened through Shopify. Mm-hmm. All it did was track them and create a little UI element on the products that said like, so many has been purchased or called for, like claimed. And it did those things. I messaged the developer in the middle, towards the end of one ending. I'm like, all right, so when do people get charged? Like, how does that happen? And they had said like, oh, a couple hours after the campaign ends. And I was like, great. That day ends, both of them successful, nothing charged. I waited a little bit, messaged them. They're like, oh yeah, that's weird. You should just do it yourself. So I tested a couple like in Shopify. It's just all through Shopify. I captured payment because it's not supposed to charge till the end in case it didn't happen. Just like Kickstarter, it has all the information. It had pre-authorized the cards. A couple of them worked.
Is it sitting there as an order, like in your orders?
But it's unpaid for.
It's an unpaid order? Yeah.
It has all their, you can change your Shopify settings to not charge. You can have it pre-authorized by default and just sit there. And then you have to capture the payment yourself. I've never done it that way. And just, normally not useful for, you kind of want it automated.
Yeah.
So I did it a couple like through the order page and they worked fine. It captured them. And I think the developer had advised like, oh, go bulk select them on the order page and there's a capture payment button. So after I tested a couple, I did that. It marked all of those orders as paid, but didn't charge any of them. There was roughly 50 of them. I come to find out after multiple weeks of messaging with different support elements of Shopify, this is irreversible. There's no way to unmark them as paid. So I have 50 orders that range from somebody ordered one thing to somebody ordered 4 things. Some of them have pre-orders in the order and some of them don't. Some of them have already paid for elements like that weren't under pre-order. And I was just kind of flabbergasted and livid. The bug was Shopify's. They admitted to that, but they had no method for me to fix it. Everybody was like, just duplicate the orders, start over. And I was like, for 50 orders? Like, maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but I can tell you it took a long time, even with an automated version that I made through. Took me many, many like days. And I spent all of January 1st doing this because I knew I was going to get like onslaught of email from people like, where's my calendar? And so I figured out a system by using Claude to use the API for Shopify as a Python script on my Mac to duplicate the orders that were tagged with a certain tag as draft orders. And in that, it copied everything directly over. I had it put notes into the notes field for like what the old order was. And then I was like, all right, great. So I had 50 new draft orders and I was like, crap, now I have to send those. And like, I had it then make another script that would use that to send invoices to each person individually, like looping. And that all sounds like great. And like, oh, that should have taken like an hour. It took me all day, like to do that. But it was, I mean, like it sounds cool now. It was really frustrating, but like I have 5 or 6 people that haven't repurchased. Yeah, it's a nightmare, but it was really cool to be able to like use the developer API connection that you can just make an app inside of Shopify, and then you have an API key or whatever the heck they call it. And it was really fun to watch it like work on my computer as a little script in VS Code basically, and then, or I think it was in Cursor, I don't remember. And it would just, in the web page, if I reloaded, it'd be like populating draft orders. And it's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that with Shopify. So
that's cool.
Cool story, terrible experience.
Painful. Yeah. It's just a continuation of, all the wins of pre-orders, right? All the joys of pre-orders.
Yeah. I'm at home and it's lunchtime, so I have an intruder.
Hungry dog or child?
Not quite dog, but he does like to eat the dog food if he gets his hands on it. You steal Hunter's food. Anyway, so that's my long story. I can't recommend it, but I think it leads into other things, and I'll try not to just rant on this, but like I've been making so many cool little scripts like that because of either Claude and or Cursor to help me. I mean, it's writing like 98% of it, and I might make a mild modification myself, but it's usually like, oh, this didn't work right. Can you fix this part? But just like that's even like, how much would that have cost me to hire somebody to do? Like,
that's awesome. You running these in terminal?
That one I did. I tried to do it through Zapier.
It's okay.
Got a dog button. He loves to push that one.
Got a dog button.
I couldn't get it to work through Zapier. It wouldn't. They have this new thing called Function, and it was supposed to do the same concept, but it wouldn't run. So I was like, how else can we do this? And it's like, well, we can just make a local Python script. And I was like, let's do it. And like, it just worked.
That's cool.
Very cool. Yeah. I didn't honestly know that was possible. Like, I just thought that's not secure. Like, that doesn't work like that. And it's just like naivety that now I'm just kind of like, holy crap, what else can I do? That's like a little local script. I can just go literally type Python and then the file name, and it just runs.
Off it goes.
So cool.
That's cool. Is this all through Cursor? Is that your primary tool for this such thing?
I use it for editing, but I can't remember if that specifically was. It might have been VS Code at that point, and I was using Claude on the side. Maybe, I don't remember. It kind of all works the same though. Like you're still using Claude most of the time.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, so I was aware over the break that I like my use of AI in any form really just like dropped off to zero.
Yeah.
I didn't, which was interesting. Yeah, I found that curious. I was like, at work, I feel like I'm such a sort of heavy user.
Yeah.
And then home time, I was still doing, like I did a lot of projects over the break. I built some new bedrooms for the kids. And I was on my laptop a lot, designing stuff and here machining stuff and like, but yeah, just didn't pick up the AI tools much at all. And then the closer I got to work resuming, it started creeping back in again. And now I'm, back to my regular schedule where it's using it for lots of different things again now that I'm back at work. But it kind of felt good to have a bit of a break from it, to be honest.
Good. Yeah. Regenerate. Yeah. I showed my parents actually one night. I was sitting and we got on the topic of AI. And so I was showing them what you could do with ChatGPT. And primarily I was just using the like voice chat on my phone. And I was pretty aggressive with it. I asked it what it thought. I'm probably going to go off here. I asked it what it thought about Alexa and Siri. And I was having it like interrogate it and like how it was better. And then I was like, now, like middle of it talking, I just interrupted it. It was like, no, I want you to talk in like a British accent. No, how about Scottish? And I was like, that's not very Scottish. Can you make it more? And you just keep pushing it. And eventually it got really, really, really rich accent. I thought it was so cool. Which it is. It's amazing. I don't like... just have done it enough, that you get used to it. But it's crazy that something is like live, just changing like that.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic, will continue to be super enthusiastic about Cursor just for what it has been able to like enable me. I did start paying for the premium version, just $20 a month, and you can use basically any available LLM or AI model. They have the new Gemini in there, so you get like unlimited of the slow models, I guess, and 500 of the premium, like top Claude. I've been using that quite a bit, but man, it is just, I made another script. We were having problems printing labels for our calendars. We put a label on the front just to label the product on a tube, and the stupid print settings on both Mac and Windows would only let me print one label at a time. If I did more than one, it locked up the printer. And it's done this for like a couple of years now. And so I was like, all right, off of that hot experience with scripts, we can do this. Like, so I had it make a little Windows terminal bat script, which I didn't give it any. I was just like, can you make a script for Windows that helps me print a file? And so you can drag in a file into the terminal window. When you run the script, it puts the path in, and then it asks you on the next line how many you want, and you say how many. It just prints. Like it loops that, acts as if I printed it that many times. I mean, I made it sound simple. It took me half an hour to get it to work, but like I then at the end of it had it document itself as a PDF so that you just open up the PDF and like anybody can figure out how to do this again if they need to, how I created it. Like I was like, document this whole conversation and make a PDF that I can download. And so amazing. Can you imagine how long the documentation would have taken me to do? Like,
yeah.
Alone.
It's nice. It's nice. I had an experience yesterday. I had a phone call with a lawyer about I'll tell you what it's about in a sec, but like at the start of the call, she was like, "Oh, is it okay if I record this?" And the way she described it, I was like, "Oh, how good is transcription these days?" And she was like, she just sort of was like, "Oh, it was amazing. Like, it'll summarize this call for me, and it's so much better than my notes could ever have been." And blah blah blah. Like, so they've got transcription and obviously LLM summarizing all their client notes, which is rad. It's nice to see. I found it quite refreshing, of like, just to see another business actively using the technology,
right?
And being semi transparent about it. I've got a situation where a major supplier of ours undercharged an invoice sort of March last year for supply of some goods, and this is one of our main suppliers. And Sarah, who was still working for us at the time, picked up on it and emailed it back and said, "Hey, your invoice is wrong. You've undercharged us." And they acknowledged that, and then they continued to undercharge us for the rest of the year. And it was around the next invoice that would have come through was when I was on, paternity leave with our third child. And anyway, 2024 continued. They continued to undercharge us. And then got a call the other day from the rep saying, "Oh, Happy New Year. Looking forward to your order," because we do annualized orders with them. "Looking forward to your order this year. And by the way, we've realized there was a glitch in our system and we want to backcharge $25,000 of invoices." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." I was semi-aware of it, obviously, but also just, in a state of like, we've told you people about it. It's not going to chase you every time you send an invoice that's incorrect. Like, sort your shit out.
Ugh.
Anyway, so I had a call with the lawyer just to work out where we stand. Like, if we end up paying it, we end up paying it, whatever. But I'm just curious at this point of like, can they backdate that far for what is their own negligence? I don't know.
Right.
Let's find out. So we'll see where that lands.
I mean, I've looked into that for the sake of medical bills in the United States, and unfortunately, you can go pretty far back. It's kind of ridiculous. That sucks, man. I mean, if nothing else,
curious situation.
I would demand to have some form of payment plan and not require to pay.
Absolutely,
I would not pay that lump sum.
No. No, absolutely not. I mean, we can't for a start, but also that's not happening. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that situation. See how it plays out. I did do due diligence and sort of not just for that reason, but just for material supply security. I've always kept a second option in the back pocket. Because this business has repeatedly done things that have made me think they're going to be out of business tomorrow.
Like not bill properly? Yeah, I get
it. Yeah, not bill properly. Just weird errors and just communications that have made me think like, we could wake up tomorrow and this company doesn't exist anymore. So I'm just going to make sure we've got a backup supplier for this critical stock. So yeah, pays off to have backup suppliers, it turns out.
Yeah, so are you changing now? Maybe you don't want to say.
Yeah.
I get it.
For sure. Came across, Jay actually sent me a link to this random website the other day, which is our own product. You can click on that scam link in the show notes.
I got scammed though.
You got scammed. You've already put your credit card in, didn't you? Like, what a steal. I can get a kit of parts.
I would
304
I would buy
$43.
Yeah.
It's like one of those completely faceless websites that was spun up.
Let's not give them
a few months ago, traffic, as far as I can tell. And it's just got all these duplicated, ripped products.
You can get a designer sofa for $69.77.
A whole Davenport for only $69. Nice.
The whole thing's just like a credit card scam, right? Like they're just
gotta be
fishing for credit card details. I don't know. Anyway, I don't see it as a risk particularly, but
what if they can perform? What if they can make your product for $45? God. Oh, that'd be the worst surprise. Not the scam, but that they're killing you.
Yeah. Just put in a burner credit card and have the product arrive on your doorstep.
But it's kind of fun. I can do some Mercurial. I think you said you can probably do the same. I can make virtual debit and credit cards and put super strict limits on them. So I could do $50.
Really?
And just shoot it and just see what happens. I guess in this case, I wouldn't want my personal details to be associated at all, but
no, you can spin up
instantly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, I can give employees cards. I can have virtual numbers that are different from the physical card. It's really nice. You can lock it to one vendor so that only vendors can charge. I had this thought to do a canary kind of in the coal mine situation, like a catch, because we've had credit card fraud on my main credit card a couple times, and a handful of my local vendors have the number on file so I can just purchase stuff, right? And I'm like, who is it? Who keeps using...
Who's leaking my number?
Who is this? So it's if I just give them all a unique credit card, I can know who's scamming me. Which is honestly how it should be. It should just be that easy. I don't know why I haven't... I think my main credit card, I get more points for it, so I use that. But, well, little tidbit here. Where do your... I saw you make bins for your labels for your products to pull out and then be able to organize them on your threadboard. You know what I mean? Maybe this was an old post I just saw.
What labels?
Your product,
those QR bins.
Yes. Where do those QR codes on labels end up, just in general? Is it a Notion page? Is it?
Where do they link to? To Notion pages.
Okay.
Which I'm not particularly happy with them. I just had a customer message me yesterday because their stuff had arrived and they were putting things together, and they're like, how do I put these hinges on? And I realized, oh yeah, there's still not a video for that that bit of that product. Like, so yeah, my Notion pages for assembly are a little bit thrown together and messy at the moment, but that's where they're going. Need to do some work on those.
Sure.
So those QR codes are just generated in, I think, just in the Dymo app.
Oh,
just
right.
A question. I haven't known the answer to this. You might know. Are QR codes evergreen? Like, regardless of how they're generated?
The only case they wouldn't be, in my understanding, is if you've used some website that's used as a proprietary, like, redirecting. So there being a middleman, like a Bitly or like there's a bunch of the generators on the internet that they want to give you analytics and stuff. But if you're just generating them, like you can have GPT make them, it is just how would I say it? A formula, I want to say, like where the bits go on the thing it's a system, an algorithm. So it's standard.
It's a form of language, right?
I think I sent for a long time ago. I stumbled on the original creator of the QR code, and it's like a really cool, like he came up with the system himself, like for some factory, and then he open sourced it. Yeah. It's so cool.
I remember you mentioning that. I never watched the video.
Somewhere in our show notes, we can find it.
Cool. That makes sense if it's just it's language, and therefore it would be a fixed format, fixed output.
The shorter you can make a URL or whatever you're trying to put into it, the easier it is to scan, and the smaller you can make the QR code. It needs less
data.
It also can be replicable more inside the QR. So like if part of it's damaged, it can be scanned different ways. There's like not check codes, but like backup data.
Contingency in there.
It gets scratched or something, which is also cool.
That's awesome. I didn't know Chatty could make QR codes. I just tried that. Works beautifully.
It's pretty quick.
Thank you. Very cool. Did you have any love from your drill jig?
Man, I need to respond to people. I got so many good suggestions. Like, I honestly did not.
Awesome.
I was just thinking, like, we've talked about that 5 times for between 15 and an hour in the shop, and we need to be making these, and our current system is just kind of a disaster, where we changed one of the plates of the dust boot to make it stronger, and then we needed to remake a side drill jig that used to be printed with a bushing, hardened steel bushing, that worked but was janky. You had to like hold it. So the new version was supposed to go in a clamp so that you wouldn't have to hold any of it, but the jig just didn't work. It wasn't self-centering. The bushing came out of it, and so I was like, well, my plan was to make this out of metal, but then we realized there's too many flaws still, and so I was just like, I'm just gonna ask. And instead of making a story, I made a post, which I normally would just made a story. I have 32 comments on that right now, and it's just like all of our smartest colleagues gave cool suggestions. I had people DMing me. So many good, I think the best, somebody said, I think Laundromat, I forget his name. Laundromat Fab.
John.
He said, machine some soft jaws for a cheap centering vise attached guide to vise base. And I'm so damn visual that I like had a hard time visualizing some of these. And then like Justin Gray from Toolpath was DMing me, like, he's just like a font of solutions. So he had all these amazing thoughts and versions of going back and forth for like a day, and he sent me links to those cheap Chinese self-centering vices. Have you ever seen these things?
Yeah.
And so I actually I spent $120 and bought a vise and jaws for it that can hold soft jaws. And I think that's going to be the solution. And his take on it, which I think is kind of combined with some others, is put some rods into a mounting plate that a drill can slide on, and then have that centered on the vise. That's self-centering vise. So you're holding the part in like a soft jaw. And I have a hard time. It took me a long time to visualize this. But I think that's going to be it. And that way we can actually make new versions with the same jig and not need to completely spin up a whole new thing, which is, brilliant. And exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be offline. This doesn't need to be on a CNC. It's just a clearance hole for a cross dowel, but we couldn't get it centered. We couldn't drill it accurately. It's on the tangent of the dust boot part, so it's like a weird place to like fit stuff into. So anyway, super thanks to everybody that gave me suggestions. I need to reply to people.
It's awesome. I didn't know you could buy a self-centering machinist device for
it's
$40
$75 American.
It's so cheap. I wonder what they're like. That'll be interesting to see what the quality is like.
I've seen a lot of people, a lot of other Instamachinist friends buy these, and they're not like for your 5-axis machine with crazy tolerance. I think they repeat to 1,000, but like, you know, one of my CNCs, and for us drilling by hand, that is amazing.
For an offline fixture?
Right.
Shit, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I'll have one as a phone stand. Thank you very much. I need it.
Right.
I do like this, like, first week back feeling. Like, I don't know. I think it happens most years where I feel somewhat refreshed, fresh eyes on things. It feels like a good time of year to sort of break
enough time away
bad habits. Yeah, and I'm not one to write New Year's resolutions. It's not something I've ever really done, but I do find it, I found myself going, all right, I think, it's time to bring the default diary back. I'm in that sort of headspace of like, I could do this. I could do a default diary again. I feel focused enough.
I may be interested to try. I sent you a link to, I've mentioned it before, I listened to the Vergecast podcast, and they did a 6-hour recap of all their like top stories for the year, and I hadn't heard a bunch of them, which is interesting. There's some really good stuff in there, and it's not all about tech. I just kind of casually listened through like a week basically, and I linked in the show notes to a thing that made me think about your experience with using like a diary. Is an interview with this guy.
Cute.
Interview with this guy that I should have looked it up again. He wrote a book on like why paper notebooks, physical notebooks are better and will not go away anytime soon, basically. And I think my shortest summary I can make, which he says it so eloquently, it's worth listening to. I linked to right when he starts talking about it. Is the host is like a tech writer, and he's like, I really want an app to work like, you're saying notebooks will never be replaced for certain one of these things. Like I can't always have a notebook. It's not good for Teams. Like, and he's like, will we ever get there with apps? And he's like, well, maybe, but like the like human biology and psychology that's been studied is like, we basically treat a notebook like a place, whereas an app is never like a place. And his example, the most simple example is when you write in, a notebook, you sketch in the upper right corner, you remember it's in the upper right corner. Like you go to use your app again, and you go from data entry to Kanban view to list view. None of that's in your head. It's just gone. Like you don't conceive of it the same way. You can't internalize it. It's like if you heard the memory palace, right? Where you like think about and memorize things as you move through a house is a good way to help you to memorize things. It's the same idea. It's like you're creating a place for these thoughts. It's stronger cognition. It's stored in a different part of your memory and your brain as well. So it's just like, I don't know. I'm not doing a good job. It's really eloquent to listen to, but it kind of pushed me again back towards that and some plane flights, pushed me back towards some getting more into sketching and that kind of process again, and writing in a journal, those kind of things seems very beneficial.
Yeah. I've been reading. Well, no, that's a lie. I've been doing some audiobooks over the holidays, but for the first time in many, many years, actually reading fiction. I've been off. I've been on a non-fiction only train for so long, for most of my adult life.
Right.
I read a huge amount of fiction as a teenager, and then just stopped and haven't read much at all since then. Anyway, I've been getting back into it lately and just really enjoying the headspace of the escapism of it, I suppose, of like being in another world. And I've always been a bit of when I do read fiction, I tend to read sort of speculative fiction or sci-fi.
Yeah.
That sort of world.
Mars kind of things. Yeah, me too. I can never find enough of them.
Not necessarily dystopian, but yeah, really enjoying being in that sort of that headspace. And I think, well, sometimes a little bit too much in that headspace because I've been falling asleep listening to it and then sort of finding my spot the next day, and it means it's kind of just filling my head overnight.
Yeah,
puts me in a weird headspace sometimes where I can't quite escape the book, but it's been really good.
Yeah,
it's been nice. I think I've been sleeping better as a result.
Right. I mean, I have that same experience, and my problem, I think, with most books is I'm not like, my discovery process is basically like you or people listening to this, or my brother reads a cool book and then tells me about it, and otherwise I don't spend the time to go search them out, I think, or I don't trust that they're going to be good. I like always want a referral, I guess.
Yeah.
But I do also appreciate that. I'm sure it would be really good for me to not just look at TikTok, which might be gone in a week. Actually, is it today?
Really?
40 minutes ago, TikTok banned the Supreme Court live updates. Woo!
Woo. Wow. I must say, reading more has done wonders to my dropping my screen time.
I bet. Listening even versus actually reading?
Yeah. Yep. Listening even, yeah.
I kind of end up, podcast / reading books, like audiobooks, is like the same for me. Like I just end up being like, I'm still like taking out the trash, just like stupid stuff around the house.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to share what book you're interested in? Just because I need book recommendations.
I'm reading Ian M. Banks. The first book in the Culture series, which I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Consider Phlebas. 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 It's really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I did not think we would get through our list of things, and we're getting there.
I think I have to report on the other than the Taylor Swift t-shirt I'm wearing, which is a pretty exciting Christmas present.
We should share our Christmas presents.
Tour merchandise. Official tour merchandise from my niece. The pretty funny Christmas present I got was my mother-in-law, Laura's mum, who we live with. She's our like neighbor through the wall. She appeared a few weeks before Christmas with some Hot Wheels for the kids that she'd found at the op shop, which I think you call a thrift store.
What do you call it?
Op shop.
Op shop.
Opportunity shop.
Oh, yeah.
And
thrifting.
Thrifting. And she'd appeared with some Hot Wheels that she brought home for the kids. And she was like, I was just at the op shop and someone's just donated like 250 Hot Wheels still in their packets in a box, and they're selling them off. And like I had this like little boy fantasy for a moment of like, I've always wanted heaps of Hot Wheels. It'd be fun. I'm going to go there on my way to work and buy them all. And I didn't make it that morning. Whatever. I went to work instead, and I was chatting to Ben here about it, and he was like, he guilted me out of the idea. It's like, don't deprive all those children of those cars. How dare you?
So you
I was
did.
like, oh yeah, fair enough. No, but then on Christmas Day, guess what appeared? She'd gone back and she'd bought them all because of my reaction, my enthusiasm, and she'd bugged them down and bought the whole box and gave them to me for Christmas. So I've got this ridiculous box of Hot Wheels, which I then proceeded one night to like scan every single one of them with the reverse image search in the Google app to see. Checked everyone on eBay.
Valuable.
to try and find the one that was worth like $8,000, which some of them are, and none of them were worth more than like $35. But so I'm gonna make a shelf to store all sort of 250 of them neatly on the wall at home, and we'll unwrap them all. So the kids are just like gagging to. They've unwrapped a whole bunch of them, but they just keep like wanting to unwrap more.
You should like conceal them in like something you can't see, so when you open it, it's a little more. It's got a little
surprise.
Yeah. Oh, I was running to actually a Walmart, which are way more prevalent in America in the Midwest. Like we don't have them really. We have them, but they're tiny in the Northwest for some reason. Like Seattle has a weird thing about like they don't allow big box stores in city limits, it was weird moving there. And then like here, it's kind of the same. We have small Walmarts, which are odd until you go outside the big cities. So anyway, my family lives fairly close to a giant one, and I'm just kind of like gobsmacked by them because I haven't been in one for so long, even though I grew up in that culture. And there's a whole series of Bluey shirts. And so I bought Aaron, my son, and I each appropriate Bluey shirts, and I keep trying to get Aaron to wear them out to like dinner somewhere. She's like, "Oh, we can't." I was like, "Yes, we can."
Bluey, I love that it's become an export of Australia.
Oh, I do too. That's great. Supposedly, there's a movie coming, which I've heard suspicion that it will be the most revenue ever generated by a movie, like by a far amount.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Right. I heard that the writer's planning that to be his last thing that he writes.
Wow.
For Bluey. I think
can't end it.
I heard that as his kids have grown up, he's found it harder and harder to sort of get into that headspace of those characters, which makes sense.
Sure.
I think that's what made it so good, is that it was like just coming from very genuine experiences.
Mm-hmm. It's so wonderful. I mean, I had conversations with my parents about that too, and I was just like, oh man, like I haven't seen a lot, but it's just like everyone basically makes me cry, like for some reason.
Yeah,
it's just and Aaron and I will like send each other clips to it that we find, or we'll like watch it with him and then like go find the clip and be like, oh my god, you gotta see it. Like the one where they go, particularly I think my favorite, most mind-blowing one is the one where they're the like rabbits in space. I don't even know have you seen this?
I don't know.
So good. Anyway,
maybe
this is the content people come from.
Some work to do. Yeah. Link in the show notes.
Cat Palace.
Yeah, that was the bedroom I built for the kids just before Christmas. Finished work on Thursday, had our little pizza party, and then Friday, Laura had designed this awesome basically packing 3 children into one bedroom, like multi-level. I call it the Cat Palace because it's kind of got things you can climb and different levels combined, sort of stacked up on each other. So I took Laura's Rhino designs and detailed it all on Friday, machined it on Saturday, clear coated it on Sunday, and then installed it on Monday. In this like mad dash to get it done before Christmas. But it was pretty awesome. It was fun little project.
It's super cool.
So
made me jealous.
Kids are
for your
in there now.
Kid.
Yeah, me too. Like it's fun. It's got like multiple levels, and Remy can like climb up through a hole and into his little like play area. Yeah. Cool.
Were they surprised, or did they see it? Did they know it was coming?
No, I got busted, unfortunately, on install day. They came home earlier than expected from their granny's house.
They're like, who's this handyman in my room?
We'd also told them we were doing it because both Laura and I realized as we were planning it that we'd both had experiences of kids of having our like bedrooms overtaken by parents, like completely unknowing like changes to our sort of bedrooms, and having had sort of a negative response to that.
I see.
As children. So we gave them the heads up and like had showed them the designs in Rhino and stuff.
Had the client
and sort of
approve
talked about
right
it.
off on it.
Client approval, manage expectations.
I think my favorite part about it, other than it's really cool, is I think you posted some stories or something about it online, and I remember showing Aaron. It's just this funny thing about our difference in language sometimes is that you called it like a kid enclosure, and like here you go to jail for that basically. Like just from the word itself, it's like, wait, you keep your kid in an enclosure? Like we should call Child Protective Services probably. Like
It was a joke.
I know.
It was a joke.
I know. Or it's just my litigious society I live in.
Yeah. And that's about it, I think. Final little bit of holiday listening recommendation was a great podcast I listened to, the Louis Theroux podcast, which I listen to sometimes.
He made that rap, right? Is that the guy?
Yes, he made that rap, that guy. A great interview with Nick Cave, the Australian musician, which I really enjoyed from a sort of creativity point of view, but also just, being a human in the world.
Yeah.
Can recommend, linked, and yeah.
Interesting.
That's the end of my story.
That's it. All right. Cool. It's good to get back.
And Gridfinity is a black hole. Oh, my God.
Yeah, watch out for that.
It's fun.
You get magnets going, the problem I get into is I can never be satisfied with what exists out there. I'm like, I'll do a better version. I want to make it slightly different. And then instead of just like making the thing that works, I'm like, well, I've got to make a different version of that. It's got to have labels and like.
So, yeah. So what's your workaround? Like if you download someone's not quite right model from.
I just start over.
Whatever
often.
It's called. You start over. Of course you do. Yeah.
I can't help myself.
I had a terrible experience where I was like, I want a caliper stand for my Mitutoyo vernier caliper. Downloaded someone's version of it, which was for a slightly different model. And it's like, oh, this is crap.
Right.
And then like converted it in the mesh and then
that's absolutely terrible
over the top of it, and it was horrible. Yeah.
I got a file recently. It might turn into a project, but this person had a 3D scanned, or like a professional designer, industrial designer, and they sent me 3 files. One was a mesh, one was a different version of a mesh, and then one was converted to solid. And the solid, like we're talking the mesh 300 meg, solid is 100 meg, and I thought there's no way this is working. I threw it into Fusion. It's glorious. And I'm going to ask them what their workflow is to go from a 3D scan to this solid body that it's still got a ton of faces that are kind of like chopped up, but my God, is it so clean compared to what I'm used to. And it's like workable in Fusion. But I just end up, I'll reference, off of it, like measure some stuff. And actually, weirdly enough, Bamboo Studio is really good for measuring mesh files inside of it. Is it like it lets you snap to faces to measure with and the tools in there?
Oh, really? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Neat.
Just print them. That's the answer. Spend too much time.
Just print them.
I gotta go. We gotta go.
Okay, we do have to go.
Good to be back, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.